everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am super excited to have a special guest back with us again for a second interview. This is Kelly, mother of six, and she has some GNM stories that she wants to share with us, some insights, some aha moments, some connections. And so welcome back, Kelly. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my delight. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Well, wonderful. Well, which one do you want to start with?
I think I think we'll start with the postpartum hair loss story, and then we'll emerge into others. Um, so as a mom of six, I noticed, particularly with starting with my third birth, that I experienced postpartum hair loss. And of course, at that time, being in the allopathic system, was just told, well, that's just a normal part of what happens, and thought, gosh, that's unfortunate. But so this time around, this was baby six, and with each subsequent baby, so baby 4 and 5, I noticed more severe hair loss during that time. And for me, when it always started, was around month 4. And then it would last for maybe 3 months, 4 months, and then it would die down and I would resume hair growth as normal. And so what happened was so I learned about German New Medicine no, I think it was about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And as I was starting to learn about that and hearing a couple stories about how postpartum hair loss, surely it was from one of your videos, that postpartum hair loss is common, but it's not normal. And that kind of blew my mind, because it certainly, wait a minute, but doesn't everybody do this? So I asked one of my other mamas, who is also into German New Medicine, and I asked her, so have you experienced postpartum hair loss? She says, well, with my first 2 I did, but with my third, which we were pregnant at the same time with, mine 6th and her 3rd, she said, no, I didn't. I just kind of wanted to shake her, like, that's not fair. Wait. But that reinforces what Melissa said, is that postpartum hair loss may be common, but it's not normal. And it's just so radical. So with that, I started really, of course, wanting to solve this, because I would just brush my hands through my hair, and I would have, it wasn't chunks of hair, but it was multiple strands every time I ran my fingers through my hair. And I thought, this just cannot be normal. And it was going on for quite a long time. It was 5 months worth. And this is just ridiculous. And my hair, I had been growing my hair out, and I was so excited to, like, I'm never going to cut my hair again. I'm going to be one of these natural mamas with long locks. And I was so excited about that. But it was just starting to get so thin that I felt embarrassed. And I felt like I was trying to fool the world by trying to make my hair more voluminous when it wasn't, and it was continuing to lose hair. So then I have the blessing of once a week, taking a nice long drive with just the baby in the car to go pick up our raw milk from a nearby farm. And so I decided, sitting down in the car, and I went, okay, today is the day. We're going to access deeper, and we're going to find out what in the world is going on here. And I had been holding on with such an iron grip of, like, we have to solve this. And so instead, after listening to so many of your videos, which have been incredibly instructive, of realizing, okay, I need to hold this lightly. Now I'm just going to hold it lightly. I'm going to ask myself, okay, you know what? Hey, here we are, just nice and relaxed. Talk to me, Goose. Tell me what is going on. Why do I feel this separation conflict? What is it about hair loss? And so I was just trying to be relaxed and listening. And it wasn't long before so then I was, like, trying to do some gentle puzzle piece solving. Okay, so when does this normally happen? About 4 months postpartum. What normally happens 4 months postpartum? You resume regular life, but you have a baby. So you're doing all the same things. You run out your card of, oh, I have an infant. It's like, girl, get off the couch. You got to do stuff. Like, oh, okay. And which is why I was so lucky to have a very relaxed first pregnancy I honestly don't remember, and postpartum. I can't really remember my second postpartum because I had started a business and I was deep in that. So I don't remember what was happening with my body. But um, so anyway, life is busy, and now you have to go and do all the things, and you have a baby that you're caring for. That's a big enough job just on its own. So that okay, it's like, well, all right, extra stress, just too much going on, too much to do. You can't do it all. You're tired. And then all of a sudden, the phrase pulling my hair out came to me. And I never thought about that. Pulling my hair out. And it just came like a bell ringing so clearly.
Mhm.
Pulling my hair out. It's like, wow, I must feel like I'm pulling my hair out. And I'd never heard it that way before. I kept thinking, maybe I want to separate myself from maybe I felt separate from myself. I was so busy doing and doing that I felt like I'd lost myself. And that's the path that I kept thinking mentally, but I wasn't finding any results with it. So as pulling my hair out came to me, I got this big smile on my face, like I think I found it. And then it just relaxed as I'm driving, and I started just talking to myself so gently and reassuring and say, you know what? Yeah, you got a lot going on. You have a lot on your plate. There are times you feel like pulling your hair out, aren't there? Yes. Yeah, I feel that. And then I started, as I'm driving, just with one other hand, just started massaging my scalp and started speaking affirmations to myself and just relaxing. I smiled the entire drive there and back. And then what was ridiculously hilarious to me was I got home and my kids, I hadn't been home for quite a few hours, and the kids were nuts. I came home and they were bonkers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to tear my hair out. It's true. Oh my God. And I went, oh, how can I live in this hubbub
Mhm.
and the stress and the conflicts while still, so all I had to do is just remembering what you and Steve have said of your awareness is kind of all that is required. And so as I'm trying not to lose my mind and pull my hair out with the kids, just realizing, you know what, they just need contact with me, they need reassurance, they need to feel secure. That's why everyone's going crazy. And if I can provide that, I know everything is fine. But still, in the moment, all of those comments, it was just ricocheting everywhere. Everybody was just off the walls. So just realizing, okay, yeah, I feel really stressed out right now, but I am aware that I feel this way and I want to pull my hair out. And it's not going to get in the way of my healing. And
Mm.
so then I just kept thinking in that vein of like, yep, I understand. It's really stressful, but you know what? You got it. You have all the resources available to you. You have everything you need, and you got this. And it's okay. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. And
Mm.
it's okay. And then also, it's just a really great reminder of what can you take off your plate? What really is necessary? And this goes across the board for anything. If you are feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, how much am I putting on myself because of my own expectations
Mhm.
versus how much really is necessary to get done? And my husband is so good at reminding me of that. It's like, nobody asked you. No, that's all you. I go, oh yeah. I mean, but wouldn't it be nice if it was? Yes, yes. It would be nice if it was done, but it doesn't have to be. That is not a requisite for living at the moment. So with that, within 24 hours, and I kept kind of checking, like softly running my fingers through my hair and just checking, like what's coming out. Within 24 hours, it had slowed down to what I would consider completely normal.
Mm.
And I thought, wait, I must be kidding myself. I must just not be, like running my hands thoroughly more enough through my hair. That surely. But then 48 hours, and then just kept checking it. It was like, oh my gosh, this is sustainable. This is, I think we're done. And it was so cool. And I kept telling my husband, he's not quite on board with German new medicine. He is still more on the alternative health side of things, but he's far more terrain than GNM. But so he's all like, it's all of the toxins and like, well, anyway. So I was so excited to share the story with him, and though he was trepidatious, he did say like a week later, he goes, so how's your hair? I said, it is fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, it's all done. And then little old Kelly decided, you know what? I need to be an artist. I just really need to claim being an artist. And I signed up for an art show. And all of a sudden, hair loss came back again. And I was so upset with myself. I was so, because the art stuff, so fun. That has been a part. I know that that's a part of me. But what I have realized was I was really conflicted about my identity and how do I fit together and in this moment. And as a mother of six, I've had lots of experience being in various places in life, career wise, or just homemaking, that I realize that there are times when life is less busy with so many kids. But at this point in time where I thought I was transitioning from a baby, he was turning 1,
Mm.
to a walking baby, and this baby is a handful. And as babies are meant to be. And I realized I'd really put myself in a situation where my dreams and desires were not coinciding with reality. And I was really stressing myself out. But I was challenged to try to figure out, so what are you going to do about it? And I didn't want to say, I mean, I love how you guys say that the best resolution is always the natural resolution. And I thought, well, the natural resolution where I like cancel all the art shows and just stop worrying about it and save it for another time. But I really felt compelled because I told all these people and I started up some social media and I kind of felt like I planted a flag and said, I am an artist. I felt compelled that I'm supposed to keep this going. And I also had struggling with the different voices. Again, this is where I love the videos that you guys have put out that talk about the other voices giving us the plan. This is the map. This is what you ought to be doing right now if you are to be a good person or a successful person. Or and that's so speaking of good people, that's one of the best things that I have taken away from a similar upbringing to you. Is I grew up in a really strong Christian home and have since set that faith down, and kind of started life thinking on my own, which my husband and I are in line with, which is great. But being a good person is penultimate. And when I have the freedom to not be a good person and really like scandalize my mom and my aunts and all those people that have a very, well, this is what we do and everything is perfect and it's bright and shiny, and even though you're crippled inside, everything is great. And to go, oh, you know what, I don't really, that doesn't fit and I don't like that, it doesn't feel good. So being okay with not being a good person. um and I tangented, but expectations for yourself, all the voices, all of the narratives that tell you that you're supposed to be a something. And realizing I listened to a webinar of a gal who was saying you can be a mom and an entrepreneur and you can rock them both. Screw that. I mean, okay, I'm okay, perhaps you can, ma'am. Perhaps you can. But I know for me, I'm a border collie. And whatever it is, I see that ball and I am focused like a laser on that ball and I want to chase that ball. And it doesn't matter if my children haven't eaten for 2 days, I'm getting the ball. And it doesn't work well for me. So I have a really hard time with that work-life balance. So for me, stepping away from career and really just investing in what does it mean to be present? What does it mean to really live? Yeah, to be a whole person. And putting a dollar sign, I always put a dollar sign on me or my time or my talents and all of that, and realizing, "Hey, that really doesn't matter. you imagine yourself on your deathbed, and what are the things you're going to wish you had done, or wish you hadn't, or whatever. And I will never say, gosh, I wish I'd photographed one more wedding. I really wish that I had done, more commercials, or, in acting. Or no, I probably wish I had more kids. I probably
Mhm.
wish I'd spent more time with kids. I probably wish I'd baked more cookies with my kids. And those are the things. So yeah, value system. So where I was getting all like mixed up, so the hair loss returned. I was struggling trying to figure out what is my identity and how do I balance life, and I do want to do art, but at what cost? I was becoming a terrible mommy with my mom. Like, I have 20 minutes to do this art. Everyone, leave me alone. It's just 20 minutes, please. So just there were so many things that I had put on my plate that were making me not be the person that I really want to be. So yesterday, 2 days ago, my kids had gone to a softball game with my husband, and I had one was at home sleeping, and the other, the baby, was I just took him downstairs and we sat around the toys, and I decided to take myself into my own therapist office, me as a therapist. So I sat down and said, we're going to talk about this. Okay, hey, welcome Kelly. What is it that we can work with you on today? Well, honestly, I want to work with, like, what am I doing? What am I doing with life? And in because I know I am very good at helping other people solve their problems. And but I'm crap at mine, as most people are. It's hard to see the big picture when you're that close to it. So I just decided to be as objective towards myself as I possibly could, which is a hard thing to do. But as I was sitting there hashing it out and answering my own questions and realizing I just had this vision in my head of, this is the picture of exactly who I want to be, exactly how I spend my time, exactly what my values are. It was so clarifying, and I felt so much peace. I felt like I could drop everything else, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I was disappointing strangers. It didn't matter if well, you said you were being an artist, but well, so what? So what that I said that? I am claiming who I want to be right now and for this next decade of my life. And it felt so, oh, the weight just lifted. And so that's what I'm working with right now.
Mm.
So it's been about a day, and we will see how hopefully the hair loss will stop again. But what I so with that treasure hunting that GNM teaches us, being open to being open to listening to ourselves and to hearing what the answers might be, as opposed to in the allopathic method. I feel like it's so much of like, well, what's your symptom? Okay, open the book, and then you got to follow the lines, and then here's the treatment, the poison that you take, or the thing that they cut out of you, and then there you go, problem solved. Oh, but doc, I still have issues. Well, we just got to cut something else out, got to give you another medication, switcheroo. And there is no internal work. And that's the beauty that I've listened to a couple other German new medicine teachers. And one of the things that I have so appreciated that you and Steve do is it is the map of the mind. It is, how are you processing things? And it was a little disappointing listening to some other German new medicine gal basically kind of give up, say, yeah, this happened to me and I have this symptom, and that's what happened, with no desire or feeling of empowerment. So, you could resolve that, you could reverse that, you could fix that. Now, I do understand that there's some things in GNM that they say, well, that's not really reversible. But for the most part, I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are certain conflicts that either have gone on for so long that we shouldn't resolve them. There's ones that the tracks are just too many tracks that you may never get to resolving it. However, you can always shift your experience of the totality. So I always, even if there is something that may not ever fully resolve, there's always going to be a way that you can perceive that in a new light. And so I'm not sure the specifics of the situation, but yeah, there are some conflicts or certain situations where something may not resolve or shouldn't be resolved.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. yeah, so that's kind of been my journey with postpartum hair loss, and it has been so empowering to know, no, no, balls in my court. I still have I my and just to know that my body is working for me and not against me is huge, just huge. And that brings me to another point of my uh, epiphany that I'd had those 2 days ago when I was being my own therapist, of realizing what is it that I want in life. And part of it is, um, I feel wacky for saying it because it seems so out there, but I want to have more kids. I want to keep having as many kids as I possibly can because of the incredible journey of it, how much I love it. Yes, life is very full, but I can't think of anything better to do with my life. And I mean, some people may hear that and say, gosh, that sounds really pathetic. She should get a hobby. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got hobbies. I got hobbies I can't do because I'm doing something that I find is so much more important to me. And and I'm really good at being a zealot, and I like to I've in the past I have preached it to the world of all the things that I think people ought to be doing that I'm currently doing and that now I'm not doing at all. And because, you change your mind or you find some new information. But I- where before I would have thought everyone should be having all the babies. No, I'm finally at a place where it's okay that that's the thing for me right now, and it's okay that it's not the thing for other people. But I really wish that more people knew, or more women were were on board with, hey, did you know it's totally cool to keep having babies if you want to, if that's fun, you can. People saying that children are so expensive, that's a lie. It is. We have 6. There are so many ways that kids are not expensive. I mean, my children hardly eat. It's not because we don't feed them, but I mean, anyone who has kids knows that sometimes you have ravenous teenagers. We have yet to get there, but eh, kids are not expensive. Kids are expensive depending on how you are living your life. And
Mhm.
we love the way that we live, which is very simply and very full. And we make our own fun a lot of the times. And um, having the freedom, and that's another thing that I feel is really within that you and Steve speak to, of really getting to create your life as opposed to following narratives. And yeah, we've rejected so much, and we've tried out so many different things. And so in this phase, sorry, I'll get back to where I was talking about, but in this phase um of having children as long as I possibly can, I am open to it. So with that, after we had baby number 5, I struggled with fertility, and I tell you what, that was that was so hard for me.
Mm.
Before I could just look at him and we were pregnant, and it was fantastic. And so then when all of a sudden, um funny enough, it was in 2020, it was in the spring of 2020, and I had a really early miscarriage. It was only it was maybe at like 5.5 weeks.
Mm.
And but that was the first miscarriage that I'd ever experienced, that I was ever aware of. And that shook me up. But then the next cycle, I got pregnant again. I was like, yeah, back online. Look at me. It's what we're doing in 2020. And yeah, and we were starting homesteading kinds of stuff and getting all into the dirt, and it was great. But then we had a really stressful summer, and I miscarried, and I miscarried big to me. To me, it was really big. And I took that experience, and I said, "Oh, oh no. No, no. I refuse to believe that just all of a sudden I had a birthday. One, I had a birthday, and now my body doesn't work. That
Mm.
is baloney. This is something I do really well. And I think that if I'm healthy, I should be able to get pregnant again." So I went on like 2-year journey of just diving down into everything all the natural kinds of things, because we had, especially in that time of 2020, was like the great awakening of people going, oh, pharma, baloney, nope, staying far away from that. And there were times I so wanted to go to, I wanted to get scans done of my uterus and just see like what is going on there. And my husband talked me out of it. And I'm grateful that I'm really grateful that he did, because at that time I didn't know German new medicine, and I had this huge fear of cancer, and I felt like I was destined for it because of family history.
Mm.
And so I'm glad, I'm sure they would have found various things, because there were a whole lot of conflicts going on. I wanted so desperately to get pregnant. I started having discomfort whenever I ovulated, and that continued until I actually did get pregnant. And so in that period of time, I just declared for myself. I really focused on nourishing myself and reproductive health, and I declared that I am going to be fertile through 50. And that's what I'm right now. I'm 43. And to me, it's totally possible. But every time I say that, I still feel like there's this gripey, bitchy lady that's saying, you're not supposed to have babies in your 40s. You're supposed to be all done. That's dangerous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not my story. And I don't believe that. I believe that as long as I am healthy here and that reflects here, then I don't want to retire and sit in a rocking chair at 50. I would still, I'll sit in a rocking chair with my baby. And it's totally, I know that it sounds bonkers to most people, but I just really something that I feel really strongly about, I really believe in. And that, right. So that was part of the vision that I had. Boy, I talk a lot.
You're
Of
amazing. Keep going. Keep going.
of
The women are going to
of
love this.
Oh, good. Well, of who I want to be. Like I want to be that person, because every day I was conflicted. Um, every day I go back and forth, like, oh, we should have more kids. No, we shouldn't. This is enough. Like, I'm nuts. No, no, I should have more kids. This is the best. This is what I really want. Oh no. And then the practical naggy lady would come out and say, and so that was part of my picture was, no, this is who I am. I am fertile
Mm.
through 50, if that's what I want to be. And that is what I want to be. So, and then realizing, as far as who I am as an artist, I will be an artist in the moments that it works and bring my children into it. So yesterday I started a new art series, and it's all about mothers and their babies, and it's celebrating the feminine. And that was another thing, was just realizing I need to be in my feminine, and I need to receive, I need to ask and receive, instead of go out there and charge like a man and make it all happen. And no, that is, I've set that down, because that's exhausting. And I go into a feminine energy. And so now, having this picture, I'm going to write down like a short mantra slash like little prompts that remind me, like every day, focus on, this is where I am. This is who I am. This is what I want. Because it's so easy to get distracted, especially comparing yourself to other people. It just gets thrown into your face. It's really tempting to get back up. I was off social media for 2.5 years, and it was blissful, and I'd love to be off it again. I got back on it because we have golden retrievers that we breed. It's like, well, I don't know. It seems like the only place you can really sell
Mhm.
them. So anyway, um, so that was wonderful to be able to have. I felt like I had such a nugget, and that really is thanks to you and Steve, and the way that you have your messages of awareness of let me be aware of this, let me clarify. Oh, one of my other favorite things is how you guys say that when you hear those naggy voices, or you're replaying memories from the past, and it's just, you feel like, I feel myself just being twisted up inside, because I'm thinking about these past memories, and all of a sudden I hear Steve's voice say, that's me, that's me. Like, oh yeah, that's me. That's me doing it to myself. No one's coming around yelling in my ear saying, shame on you. It's just me. And so I'm going to go, oh, you're uninvited to the party. Goodbye. And that there's so much freedom in that, and so much relief. So I will take a breath now. If there's anything you
Take
want to
a
interject.
breath. Let me give you a round of applause because you are just an absolute star. You're just this wise woman. And I love like the myth busting messages that you just laid out for women because, one, the postpartum hair loss, amazing. Because no, does every single woman, if it was a thing that just had to happen, that a woman sheds her hair after she has a baby, if that just had to happen, then every woman it would happen to every woman the same. It would happen on a similar schedule. It'd just be a metabolic physiologic thing, but that's not how it is. Not every woman, maybe a lot of women, but not every woman. And you in this 4 months and like your specific timeline and specific birth. Okay, number three, what happened then? And you're dot connecting. So that was all super brilliant. And that's the amazing thing is by sharing this as you're kind of giving women a template for like, ooh, look at the pattern in your life. See, and I love that you just opened up instead of pulling your hair out, trying to figure it out, which is often what we do when we really, really, really want a symptom to go away, especially something, women, our hair, vanity, beauty. Oh, my long hippie mother, look at me with my long, like, I love how you shared that because it is. There was an identity, there was an idea, and then their hair is falling out and I can't figure it out. And I know it's a conflict, but I don't know what it is. Often we will drive ourselves crazy with the graspy trying to figure it out rather than the all right, I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna open, I'm gonna say, all right, you know what I need to see? Let me just drive. Let me just open up. And then boop, the phrase came in. Because often these conflicts, they really are, they're like encapsulated as I can't stomach that. I'm pulling my hair out. That was the one. Like trying, because often like sometimes when you think through like the specific thing that Hammer listed, like it's a separation conflict, and like you're like separations. Like sometimes we get too literal and we're not thinking enough about like experientially, like what is it? I'm just pulling my hair. Like that makes that if that landed with you, if that's what came in, brilliant, And so every individual, needs to be their own therapist, their own doctor, their own guide, their own like, hey, subconscious, here's a safe open space for you to show me something I need to see, and you saw it, and the immediate result, amazing. Everyone, we love an immediate result. But I love a track. I love a reactivation. I love that the art thing came to the forefront and the hair sort of because that peel back more of the layers and it got you closer to this core. Like here's this identity. Ooh, here's this idea I have about needing to be consistent in my commitments because I said I was going to do even though it's not totally jiving with it's like really so good. It was so good that that happened. And like, I love that it's hot off the presses, fresh this week. You're sitting with it. You're, going into your therapy room with yourself and realizing it's like, okay, not this season, not this thing. Let me pivot. Let me do the mother love. Okay. Just the mother stuff is absolutely, I just am so in awe of you as a mother. And that's the thing, like in GNM, it really is. It's all family based. It's all life. It's all about more life, more life, more life, please. And yes, the woman is fertile from the time of her first period till 50, 52, 53. And, if she's got an ovarian cyst, maybe even longer, So, and that's the blessing of a loss conflict, the blessing of even a miscarriage and these things that women it's so heartbreaking that they're told after a certain age, if you've had these certain issues, oh, it's going to be harder for you because of PCOS or whatever. But the thing is especially with something like PCOS, if you've got cysts on your ovaries, that's nature's way of saying, hey, I'm giving you more time. I know you had a heartbreak. I know you had a loss. Here is an enhancement to your ovary. So you have more of what you need, And so I love your heart for having more children and that vision of like, of course, why wouldn't this is the most creative artistic thing that you have the capacity of doing, and it's such a gift for you to be this physical channel for these children, to come in with this knowledge, with this wisdom, you just being, just a delightful, like learning as you go, learning new things, incorporating this wisdom into your life. It's just so It's so refreshing. It's so delightful. It's so wonderful. Like I am just so charmed by you. And yes, I think that all the babies and it is that every path for everyone. If everyone was living in alignment with nature, it would be. Nature says have the babies. Nature says
Yeah.
this is how it ought to be. And I mean, for myself and the way that I grew up and the fear, one, it's like, especially in the religious world, it's like you're terrified of getting pregnant for a very long time. You're terrified of the prospect of that. And then society says, well, you got to go to school, well, you got to have a career,
Oh, yeah.
and then you got to get the career off the ground. And so, like, for someone like myself, where I've just like, it's been a lot of waiting, it's been a lot of like preparation. And it's just like, nature says, get going. And I don't know if you've, because I don't think of any of our old videos, I've talked about like GNM and the emotional maturity thing. Nature says have babies, especially before age 25. Society says, if you want to have babies, definitely wait until after 25. But the thing is so when a woman has a constellation, when she's got two conflicts on both sides of her
Right.
brain,
Mhm.
she freezes in emotional maturity. And so most women are frozen in emotional maturity at the age of their first menarche. So when you had your first period, that's for most women, because of our society, most women have sexual conflicts, they're frozen emotionally at the age they had their first period. But nature, if you have babies before age 25, for every pregnancy you catch up on 3 years of emotional maturity. So if you got frozen at age 12, each pregnancy would give you 3 years of emotional maturity, and that's the thing, is we need emotionally mature people, raising children. And I miss my window, but we want to give that message to young women who are like, oh, well, should I wait, should I live life more? And like, when you really understand that, like, life, the essence of life is to give the gift of life, pass it on to the next generation. And so that really is what living is. And this whole idea of I need to be something else, and the struggle that many women kind of go through of like, oh, I need to do this thing, and realizing that you can, when you find, and I just see it in you so beautifully, when you find just this purpose and this lovely joy in the creation of new life and raising these children, you see that that's what life is about. Really, it is about, that's what all of the biological programs, what are they about?
Yeah.
They're about survival and reproduction, because without survival and reproduction, the game of life ends.
Mhm.
And so I just honor you for the way you're playing the game of life and the way you're passing it on and sharing, with women, that getting over that fear, of a certain age, a certain timeline. There's this woman, I came across her on Facebook. I think her Facebook is Buckskin Revolution. I don't know much about her, but my friend
Hmm.
forwarded me. She's 48, and she's got long silver hair, and she's just gorgeous, and had her first baby.
Wow.
And he is absolutely gorgeous. And it's just like, yes, fertile till 50. Absolutely. And so I see that for you. I think that that's so honorable.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. I think this everything that you're sharing is stuff that a lot of, because I feel like I'm in the birth space because I've dived when I dove deep into fertility and trying to figure out like what is going on with me. And I would love to share like what actually happened that I think that did bring in baby six. But I know so many women who will just be so blessed listening to what you were just sharing. And for me, so after all this, I thought, well, I gotta detox my body. I gotta clean up my diet. I've got to really, what it was getting aligned is what how it felt like to me. Is I needed to I, I just needed to get myself in order. And then the month that it finally happened, I had decided I'd listened to a podcast where a woman was saying it was like cleansing the liver chi, and it had to it was basically like just, oh, I'm so sorry, that was loud. Just relax, just chill out. So I'm going to spend this month chilling out. And one of the things I did was every morning I would, as I took a shower, I would laugh for a minute. So I was laughing, and then I would do like the body thumping thing all over just to like loosen up.
Mhm.
And I just decided I was going to smile as much as I could. I was going to just be, let's just say, okay, as much as I possibly could. And for folks who have been struggling with fertility and the baby making issue, it becomes very laborious and unromantic and very stressful on a couple. And my husband, when I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm in my window and I've got, these days and whatnot," so like telling me when to have sex, this is really, really working for me. Thanks. I'm just they just feel like a tool. Like, why am I even here? Let me just dump it in a cup and give it to you. You can just whatever you want to, your window. And so being able so instead of before I would just in a long lineage of warriors. And that is another thing that I am dropping. It's like that is not my identity anymore. I'm not going to be one of the warriors. Um, I'll be a warrior woman, but not a warrior woman. And so I told him, "Hey, I just want to let you know that here's my window. And ideally, what I would love it if we could make love on this day, and that day. But I'm going to leave that up to you."
Mm.
And he went, "I think I can pencil you in." And what was so wonderful, what I love about, our good men's hearts is that they want to make us happy. And so when I just let him be in charge of that. And then he felt like I'm going to be her hero. And he made it happen. And it was just beautiful. And I remember like probably the time that we conceived, we went to it was a big family party was after like in the afternoon and um everyone kept saying, "You are glowing. Eh, did you what'd you do?" And like, "You bit me." But of course, I didn't know at that point. It was like just happened. But it part of just that's another thing that you and Steve really do such a great job of hammering home is realizing that the best way to live and like in a natural state, us humans, animals in a natural state, we're pretty chill. We've got two dogs. They spend most of the day hanging out. There's nothing worrying them. They're not pacing the floor going, "Gosh, I wonder what's happening in the
Mm.
Middle East right now." They just are really relaxed and they believe that they'll get fed at some point. It's gonna be cool. I'm gonna eat. But they're not worried. So me being in a state of relaxation or not in a stressed state, that is my natural way of being. That's the way I need to be aligning my life.
Mm.
That's the way I firmly believe that for our children. We unschool our kids having ample time to just decide what they want to do with themselves that day, I think is such a great gift. And uh, anyway, so just being in a less stressed state and realizing, okay, so that if I put myself in that state, then my body's going to function the way it's supposed to. So when is it that all of a sudden I'm resonating up here and I'm in conflict and worry and all sorts of things like, oh, it's how can we bring it down? How can we lower it or eliminate it? And that to me is just that's freedom. And I love seeing life in alignment that way. So I do have a couple other stories if you want that we can talk about kids. And so a quick one, we're talking about skin and separation conflicts. I had the delight of getting to babysit a little boy from a neighbor. And I did not know his full story. I did know that he lived in a different state and he was living now with our neighbors. And I didn't know what their relationship was, but he was
Mm.
basically kind of displaced. And so he was over and he was just kind of getting along and he took a bath and I noticed on his legs on the outside they were very dry and scaly and kind of scabby and behind his knees there was red patches. And I went, "Oh, well, it's pretty obvious what's going here. Pretty clear." And what that reminded me of is my birth family. I have one biological sister, and then so my parents, when we were about 10 and 11, began adopting two sibling groups of Alaska Native children. And I remembered like, their skin was so dry, especially around their legs, and they were just super dry, scaly patches all over. And we would just spend so every time they took a bath, we would just lotion everybody, and always about lotioning their faces. Like they're Alaska natives. I don't think that their skin would have an issue with Alaska climate. But it no all of a sudden, just seeing that little boy that I was babysitting, and then remembering, "Oh, yeah, these
Mm.
poor little kids that had been in various foster homes and separated from their family and their mothers, and it was for years that they had battled those dry, patchy, scaly skin." And that was just to see the beautiful logic of German New Medicine in action. Oh, another one was this I thought was really obvious. Um, so in January, my oldest daughter and I and the baby, we took a trip and we were gone for 4 days and it was fantastic and lovely. And when we got back home, um, within 5 days of us returning, my husband had left on a training trip and he was gone for about a week or so. The day my husband left, oh, so while we were gone, our men and their ideas of fun. The kids watched some really scary movies, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is fantastic." Ah. Anyway, so Papa leaves that night. Just about four of the kids get violently sick. And the whole
Mm.
next day, and then the one it was our 5-year-old who he loves scary things, but this was beyond what any 5-year-old should watch. And he had a super bad fever. He was vomiting. He was down. And to me, I just watched it happen and went, this makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, from me being gone for 4 days, which he'd never experienced before, and then also this the scariness, and then just the feeling of like, oh, life was way different than it normally is. And to see like bam, 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 all these kids are going down. And I was perfectly fine, which is normally not the case. The past year or so, my absolutely wonderful husband and I have had some really rough points. And we got to the point of talking about the D word. And I, oh my gosh, when we finally resolved that, I was hit so hard. And it was so cool. I knew German New Medicine. I knew, and I was just looking up the index of A to Z for German New Medicine, learning German New Medicine. And I was like, yep, that makes sense. What was so interesting is when we were in that conflict and for the divorce situation, I thought, I'm really not sure how I'm going to survive if I'm going to have 6 kids and I got to make a living. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And in conflict active, whenever in relationships, I feel like this part of me is filled with poison. It just feels like poison is going all through my body. It's so toxic. And I hate it, but I also love now knowing German New Medicine when I can feel myself in conflict, like, I'm not hungry, I'm sleeping like crap. Oh, I feel toxicity all over the place. I am so tight. And it's like, yeah, yes, I'm conflict active. And I'm able to see that in my kids when they are starting to, like, they're having a hard time sleeping. Their appetite's not up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? That is such a gift to know, like, oh, we can help. Okay, now let's talk about things. Maybe we can help to lower it or to resolve it. Looking at my notes. So then, um, okay, so phew, we're not getting divorced. We're staying together. It's a good thing. It's beautiful. We've been married for almost 20 years, and yeah, so it's a really good thing. And it took me a couple days to feel like, oh, okay, this is real. We are moving forward and things are okay. And I tell you, it was like 4 days after we had kind of resolved as a couple that I got so laid low. What happened to me? Um, I had diarrhea for a week.
Mhm, mhm,
I had not changed anything that I was eating. And
mm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I've never had this happen before to me ever for a week. Like, see, this is German New Medicine stuff. And sadly, whenever I would talk to my husband about it, he'd go, why do you believe in something that makes you sick? I said, it doesn't make me sick. Oh my gosh. And that was another issue that we had. It was, oh yeah. So I was laying in bed and I couldn't breathe. I had my and again, it was like, I can't survive. And I've never really had lung issues ever, but all of a sudden I had to like sit up. I couldn't sleep in bed because it felt like I had an elephant on my chest and I could hardly get oxygen out. And
Mm,
that lasted a couple days and then it went to what someone would maybe call bronchitis, but just really deep chest, so thick, and it lasted for 3 weeks. And so like the first day I was in bed for a whole day and then woke up the next morning and I turned to my husband and said, "Yeah, this GNM thing is for real." And he said, and then he had the conversation of why would you believe in something that makes you sick? And that so all of a sudden he took his sympathy and he left the room. And I thought, oh, and so I started to get conflicted again, going, oh my gosh, it's not okay for me to be sick. It's not okay. And I'm like, I'm going to get stuck in a cycle. If I can allow myself to heal, I have to know he can have his feelings and his opinions and his thoughts. I don't have to stop healing. And so I had to it took me probably about 2 days to realize, oh, I'm doing that to myself. I'm creating a hanging healing by making his value system um
mhm.
make me feel a certain way as opposed to, well, I mean, it's just like your opinion, man. So, um, yeah, that was just crazy to see all of those things happen and wonderful to go, "Ah,
Mhm.
see, it's all connected and I don't have to be afraid of my body." And I think you guys have said many times about how um to just not get frustrated with yourself and not get so upset when you're in a conflict or you have a you're stepping on tracks and you have an issue that you don't feel like you can solve or it's not healing, that it's okay and just to take it slowly and be persistent with it in a kind and open and a gentle way. And that is for me, I just want to grab it and throttle it and solve it and kick it out. And so that's a big learning step for me to just relax. I have a really quick funny story about my son's ear infection. This was crazy, or ear healing. I found a song that I absolutely love. It's just so cool. It's from the 70s and it's but there's a part when the chorus where when the she sings, it's pretty high up and it almost sounds a little off key.
Mm.
My son, Tennyson, who's 9, hates that song. And we were sitting outside and we were having a lunch picnic and we had the speaker out and that song came on because it was really in my groove in that period of time. And so it comes on and goes, "Oh, can we please not listen to this song?" I said, "Oh, come on. It's fun. Like, get over it. It's fine." And so we listened through and I just saw him just gritting his teeth and just deep in it. That night his ear started hurting. It hurt so bad he was in tears. And the
Oh.
next day and I thought, what is going I'm so sorry. Sorry you listened to that song you hate. So so it probably took me about a day and a half to figure it out. And then so I sat down with him and I said, "Buddy, I am so sorry that I made you listen to that song when you didn't want to. And I want you to know I will never make you listen to that song again." And so we don't we don't make him listen to it or anybody. And uh sure enough, his ear healed beautifully and just fine. But gosh, what oh, and then there was another my 5-year-old, we had an issue where I got so angry and I lost my temper and I yelled at him. I gave him a really good what for. And that evening, his ear started hurting. And again, this was separate where most people are like, well, I bet there was something going around in your house. First your 9-year-old and then your 5-year-old. Like, no, no, they were not connected in time. And but it sure made sense to
Mm.
think about, and it was his left ear, and he's right-handed. And it's like, oh, honey, I am so sorry. And so I went and I just apologized to him and tried, and I know you say that it's probably best with younger kids to do that when they're sleeping. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, just it depends. I mean, depending on the age level, the kind of the subject matter, if you can have an open apology, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you.
Okay.
Ho'oponopono, that's a lovely thing to do with them. If especially if they're aware of the situation, you can talk it through with them. Or, if they're especially if they're little, or if it's a subject matter where you're like, I just want to share this, where you don't want to kind of get into a dialogue about it, that you share while they're sleeping. And so it's really following your heart and your intuition about what is the best way to kind of just get it off your chest and share your heart openly with the child about the situation and what you see that happened, and the role that you played, and kind of something just to put it to bed.
That's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, so those are kind of the stories that I have. It has been really neat to see. Oh, and even just talking with my 7-year-old daughter, was saying something about being sick and it being a conflict, and she
Mm.
said, "Oh, I didn't know that feelings could make you sick. It's so interesting." And to see my 9-year-old son, try to make like work things out for himself. It's like, I really wasn't feeling well. What was going on? Like, oh, this is so fun to see. It's so fun to see. Oh, my daughter, who is 14, who her periods have not been very regular, and um, it was really interesting. All of a sudden, they started, and she asked me, what do you think could have been that allowed it to begin again?" And I said, "Well, what do you think?" And she said, "Well," then we both said, "Well, how about you?" She'd really been stressing about prom, and she really wanted to find this particular dress, or a dress, and she wanted all these things set. It's her femininity. It's her identity as a woman. And she found her dress, she found the shoes, she found it all. That evening, her period started. And I just went, "Whoa, look at that. Look at that."
Wow.
Yeah. So
Oh my
it's
goodness.
beautiful stories of how, again, how incredibly connected we are.
Oh, Kelly, I am just, again, in awe of you, loving the stories, loving just the shares and your process. And I mean, that story of resolution after kind of discussing divorce, I mean, that's huge. That is indigestible. I can't stomach this. I can't process this. I can't absorb, all the time invested. I mean, there's so many different like ways you could have interpreted that results in a week of diarrhea. Makes perfect sense. Like you said, the breathing, oh, this territory fear, death fright, like how am I going to serve all of those things?
Right.
Just so brilliant. Like all of the connections, the listening to the music, and I don't want to hear this. Come on. It's just, and that's the brilliance of this is you can't, it's just when you see nature and you see how wise biology is and you connect the dots, it's just clear as day, And so I just thank you so, so much for coming on to
Thank
share. And I can't wait for, maybe 6 months from now to see your next round of stories. But I thank you so, so, so much, and keep it going, and keep us posted about the hair loss and all your other stories. It's been really, really great having you on today.
thank you so much, Melissa. It's my delight.